This thing fascinates me so much. This piece over at the Atlantic, and I think that Teggio does a good job. He looks at U.S. catalog versus current consumption. Says never before in history have new tracks attained hit status while generating so little cultural impact. Do you remember? And I don't think that this is. It doesn't matter what your age is. Good music is good music, right? You used to, no matter what your age was. My mom was even like this when I was a kid. She knew what the top 10 was. She knew what Casey Kasem was playing. She knew what was going to be the hit. It didn't matter what your age was. Good music transcended that. You just knew it. It didn't matter the age of the person writing it or the background. It was just good. And the piece says that old playlists these days consist of songs the year before last, and says that there's a repudiation of the pop culture industry, which is almost entirely focused on what's happening right now. And it is completely, like, for instance, he touches on how the Grammys were postponed and there was nobody who said anything. Can you imagine if the Super Bowl had been postponed? Everybody would be talking about it. The Grammys, no one cares. And that used to be a big deal. The Grammys and all of that, all those things used to be a big deal. I mean, for crying out loud, Madonna, made herself writhing around on the stage at one of these award shows. But they said that there's a huge shift, and that's one of the ways that you can measure it. The leading area of investment in music is old songs. All these investment firms are in bidding wars. They're buying music. They're buying catalogs of all these old rock and pop stars, right? The ones in most demand are, I don't know why, Bruce Springsteen, Paul Simon, Bob Dylan, David Bowie, James Brown. And major labels are rushing to old music. They're buying up all these publishing catalogs, all of this. The best-selling physical format in music is the LP vinyl. It's albums. Vinyl LP. It's more than 70 years old. And that's still the best-selling physical format. It's crazy. And record labels, which used to be considered innovators in terms of consumer products, they don't spend any money on R&D. To revitalize their business. Radio stations also contribute to stagnation, Gio writes, putting out fewer new songs into their rotation. I used to work at a record store when I was in college, and I remember we had this list of stuff that we were supposed to play, top 40. We had to rotate it all day long, and as soon as the manager left the day, we totally jacked those CDs out of that thing, and we put in the stuff that we wanted to play. We had our own list. We put in our stuff. And when the manager would come back, we put everything back in, act like we played from top 40 the whole time, because it was boring, soulless music. And it was like you have throwaway fashion. It was throwaway music. Nobody remembers what the hits were a year ago. Their songs don't have that lasting power because it's so formulaic. And that's the other thing that this gets into. As the industry tries to make dollars and churn out product instead of They treat it as a service and not a product. The newer generation, it's condescending to them because it's assumed that they're kind of stupid and they're going to eat it all up, and they're not. Because they're smarter than that. He brings up a good point. You stream a Spotify new music playlist in the background while you work, but do you even know who sings it or who's the composer? Eric Satie, a composer decades ago, announced the arrival of what he called furniture music, a kind of song that would blend seamlessly into the background of our lives. And he writes, his vision seems closer to reality than ever, which is true. And the products, or the problems rather, the things that contribute to this, the music industry doesn't have the ability to discover and nurture talent. And then copyright lawsuits. That's another huge thing. You can't mail a demo to a label or producer anymore. It'll return unopened. People are terrified of getting sued. And there have been a lot of these cases. But the problem is that the people who run the music industry, as Joe notes, they've lost confidence in new music, but they won't admit it. And I love this. He says, they won't admit it publicly. That would be like the priests of Jupiter and Apollo in ancient Rome admitting that their gods are dead. So great. But they've lost faith in the redemptive and life-changing power of new music. I can't listen to music passively. If I have to really focus, I actually can't listen to music. If I want to write something with a certain tenor, then I will listen to music. This is one of the things I've always really appreciated about Quentin Tarantino, for instance. When he writes a film and he's working on a specific scene, he writes a film to the song or the mood of the song. That's why his soundtracks are so incredibly specific. I think that's brilliant. I work the exact same way. I can't just passively listen to music. I can't. I can't. I either really hate it or I really love it. I've never been able to be one of those people that just has it play blandly in the background. I cannot do that. It's really difficult.